Welcome to this episode of the Game Gourmet. Today's episode of the Game Gourmet, we're going to be doing a Cajun classic, which is duck and smoked sausage gumbo. We're going to be traveling to the town of North Attleboro to meet with Jim Aswell, an avid duck hunter, and who we are known as the Gumbo Gourmet. Today's recipe for duck gumbo involves 2 ducks, 1 cup of bell peppers, a cup of celery, 3 cloves of garlic, a pound of sausage, 1 tablespoon of chopped parsley, and a half a cup of green onions that we'll prepare. We're going to start with the garlic. We're going to mince the garlic, 3 cloves of garlic, and I'm not sure that you can ever cook without garlic, especially in a recipe that has Cajun roots. Today's show is coming against the backdrop of the incoming snow. We're predicted to get something on the order of 20 inches of snow. That kind of weather is foul weather, gets us thinking about duck hunting. A lot of people have heard the term foul weather. Foul weather is great weather for duck hunting, but it tests your gear and your preparation to make sure that you've done your job properly. But it results in some fantastic duck hunting. We're going to make sure that we chop up the garlic completely. Try to skip the part about leaving fingernails and whatnot, because you've heard that in the first 2 episodes, but it's just as important. Always important to use nice sharp knives when you're cooking. Sharp knife when you're cooking or cleaning game is less dangerous than a dull knife, because you don't have to do a lot of sawing on your prep work. So we're doing 3 cloves of garlic. You'll notice I'm doing a double batch because, as always with game, Jim's coming up from North Carolina, and I've heard from his son Mike how much he loves duck gumbo, and shame on me if I don't share some of the game that we've taken here in the north. Jim hails out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I was talking to him yesterday, and they've had kind of a tough year duck hunting. It's been a little dry, and in the area where he is, they've had a tough duck year. So we're gonna help Jim out with a nice duck gumbo, which we'll share 50-50. We're going to make the roux in North Attleboro, and then we're going to be finishing the dish here in Carver, just for time constraints, because this is a dish that's cooked long and slow. The next ingredients we need is onions. We'll chop the onions. Fine. We're going to need onions. We'll be using bell pepper and celery, and we're going to be bringing this to North Attleboro in kit form to save a little time. I need Jim's expertise in making the roux. I have never actually had this recipe, and I'm looking forward to it. This is something that's going to be a treat for me. I've had other gumbo before, but never duck gumbo, and it's something that I want to add to my cooking repertoire. So we're gonna learn from a master. It's always good to have an open mind and find new and exciting ways to use the game that you take. And the great part about this recipe is, where it's slow cooked, you could also utilize legs and thigh meat that might otherwise go unused in your recipes. over the years I've appreciated the value of increasing the amount of game that I use by using more of the game itself. In pheasant recipes I've learned to use stock, and in duck recipes I've learned to use legs and the thigh meat. There's our chopped onions. The next thing we're going to do is prepare the celery. What gumbo wouldn't be complete without celery? So we're going to chop the celery. Our ducks have been in the oven now for just about 2 hours. I'll talk a little bit about cooking of the ducks themselves. These ducks are boneless, skinless duck breasts. So when you're going to be cooking these for 2 hours at 350 degrees, in order to keep them from drying out, there's a couple of things that I've done. The first is that I'm brining the ducks overnight in a solution of a 1/4 cup kosher salt and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm brining them overnight, and that'll help keep the ducks moist when they're cooking, so they won't dry out and get tough on you. That's the last thing in the world you need is a tough duck. When you're doing a gumbo recipe or a slow cooker recipe, it's going to help minimize the toughness, but you're still going to have to take precautions to make sure that duck meat doesn't dry out while you're cooking it. I put the brining on them, and then I cut a slice of orange and put it on top of each duck breast. Today's recipe is involving American black ducks and 1 wood duck that found its way into our decoy spread. You'll never find better eaten ducks than black ducks, mallards, and especially wood ducks. Wood ducks are a duck of the upland that spend much of their time eating acorns and other vegetable matter in the forests and streams, and they're excellent table fare. We cook the black ducks in Barnstable, Massachusetts, on the salt marshes of the Cape. The next thing we're going to do is cut up the pepper. I prefer a pepper that's different colors. So I'll take green pepper, red pepper, and some of the yellow peppers, just to make the look of the gumbo a little bit more interesting. Again, we're going to do this in kit form and bring it up to North Attleboro, the home of my niece. This is a family classic in Jim's family. My niece's boyfriend, Mike, is always talking about getting a good gumbo when his dad comes up, and it's one of the things that you find about hunting. We always repeat that these are family activities, and Mike is going to be taking a hunter education course with us at the Carver Sportsman's Club this February, a little over a month from now, and so that he can get his license and hunt with us next year. So we've got our prep work complete. We've got our bell peppers, 3 cloves of garlic, chopped onions and chopped celery. The next thing we're going to do is take the ducks out of the oven. The ducks have been cooking again for 350 degrees for 2 hours. We brine the ducks first overnight in a solution of a 1/4 cup salt, 8 cups water, and 2 tablespoons of sugar, and that's left overnight. That helps keep the ducks moist. Then we take the duck breasts out, we season them with salt and pepper, and we bake at 350 degrees for 2 hours, and there's our baked duck breast, and you'll notice the orange on them, and you'll notice that there's plenty of moisture in the pan. If the pan runs a little bit dry, I just add a little bit of water to it. Okay. The next thing we've done is prepared some sausage, and the sausage is venison sausage, and as you can see, the venison sausage is nice, and we're going to now cut that up and get that ready for traveling. Very excited to have Jim on the show today. He's going to be the first Gumbo Gourmet that's ever appeared on our show. And these shows are about friendship with other people and finding ways to reach out to other people and involve other people in the sport. These are venison sausages, and they've been cooked. If you can't find venison sausages, you can feel free to use any good smoked sausage. Would make a good gumbo. I happen to be lucky enough to have some venison sausage in my freezer. Unfortunately for me, it's sausage I have to beg off of other people, because apparently I'm not talented enough to get my own venison for sausages, at least for the last couple of years. People have I think, an impression of hunters that they go out and get something every time they go out, and that's not anywhere near true. We spend a lot of time out in the woods and a lot of time in the marsh in order to learn how to hunt, and you spend many years not getting anything. I've spent more than I care to count number of days out in the field and have gotten blanked. That doesn't stop me from having a good time, whether I harvest game or not. I always have a good time. One of the greatest places in the world to be, especially in the winter, is Cape Cod. The marshes off of Cape Cod, just outstanding place to be in the winter. You don't have any people there. If we can zoom in on the sausage that's cut up, you'll see venison sausage. Well, the prep work is nearing completion. We will be traveling about 45 minutes to North Attleboro for the second part of the show. Actually, the critical part of the show in making gumbo is the making of the roux, and roux is the base for the gumbo, and it's pronounced roux, but it's R-O-U-X. It's an important component of this dish, and it's not something that I'm willing to venture just off a recipe book. We're going to use the expertise of somebody who's done this before, Jim Aswell. So we'll hop in our car, we'll fly up to North Carolina, and we'll start the taping again there. Here we are at the Game Gourmet up in North Attleboro now with my friend Jim Aswell, as a guest on the Game Gourmet, and we're doing our Cajun Classic today, and Jim is going to take off. Well, before we get started, I want to encourage people to for the recipes of the Game Gourmet, visit www.carversportsman.com. So take it away, Jim.
Okay, I'm going to be showing Paul how I make my version of Creole duck and sausage gumbo. There are an infinite number of variants of this. You do it to your own taste. We're going to be doing duck and sausage. You can do it with chicken and guineas. You can do it with shrimp, crab, oysters, just whatever the hunter brings home. And it's basically a stew made with a roux, which is the heart of the gumbo. That's oil and flour. You basically toast the flour in oil, then you will dilute that up with, we're using chicken broth. If you're doing seafood, obviously you use a fish stock. The vegetables that go in, we're sauteing celery and green peppers. That's two components of the mirepoix. The other is onion. I use onion to quench the roux. You'll see that a little bit later. Right now we're sauteing the vegetables. We're heating chicken stock that we'll use to start the lengthy process of making our roux. The recipe is online. They have access to the recipe. Basically, the size of the roux is dependent on the size of the pot you have. I recommend an iron pot, well seasoned. We're going to do today, I think we're doubling the recipe that's online. So we're using a cup of oil, which is in here at low temperature. I'm going to put in, what is it, a cup and a half? Got to look at the recipe. We'll put in flour and start the process of making the roux. And that's just basically medium heat, constant stirring. The only way you can ruin this recipe is to burn the roux. So we want to be careful to not burn the roux. At the same time, to get the most flavor out of the roux, you want your flour and oil to come to a mixture that looks like chocolate. So that's what we'll be working toward today. As a dark roux. Some cooks use a very light roux. They call it a blonde roux. It's light brown. It doesn't take long to do that. 15, 20 minutes. I think the recipe says 15 minutes. This will take longer. You do it slow. Don't burn it. And then get it as dark and as rich as you can. So we'll start that process.
This is the great thing about game cooking, is that you can share it with friends and you can learn as you go. It's a whole process that we use. And Jim is the first guest on the Game Gourmet, and he's going to be dubbed the Gumbo Gourmet. So we're going to start out with the recipe, and Jim's going to show us what we're doing.
Okay, so when sauteing these vegetables, we'll get some flour and get this roux going. So I said, what, a cup and a half of flour?
Yes, cup and a half of flour to double the recipe.
Yes.
Well, while Jim's doing that, I'm gonna be cutting up the parsley. One of the real enjoyable things about duck hunting is the ability to be out in the field and to enjoy the sport, and at the same time conserve wildlife and to actually make the resource better. We do this by our licensing fees and our stamps. Every duck hunter pays $15 federal duck stamp, as well as a $5 state duck stamp, and a $27 Massachusetts hunting license. All of that, the money that's generated from those activities, those licenses, go right back into the sport and right back into the resource in buying land and duck breeding grounds, so that we actually wind up with more waterfowl than we had when we started. Great example of this is the wood duck. The wood duck was very nearly extinct in the early part of the 1900s, and it was rescued by some forward-thinking conservation people that preserved wood ducks by putting out wood duck nesting boxes and restricting the harvest that hunters took back in the days of market hunting of wood ducks. Jim, a lot of these ducks we take right down the Cape this time of the year. The American black ducks in the salt marshes of the Cape. You won't find a more beautiful place than down in Barnstable, Massachusetts to hunt.
I spent time myself out there.
You're originally from, or you have hunted in this area, but you haven't. You're out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I understand.
Yeah. My dad introduced me to duck hunting down in Louisiana. He was born in North Louisiana. I was born in Hawaii, but raised in the South, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. So I've duck hunted in Mississippi, Texas, and I've hunted. Didn't do any duck hunting in Virginia, but then when I got up to Massachusetts, I hunted the Eastern Shore when I worked in Baltimore. Good hunting there, and then I was here for 20 years. I've hunted all around this area for duck, primarily duck.
You're putting the flour in the,
Yeah, it'll make lumps. You just want to stir it and break it down, break down the lumps. And again, because this is the most critical part, you want to do it slow. If you do it too fast, it'll burn, and you got to start over. It takes a while. I'm sure you're going to have to edit this.
we leave all the mistakes in, so if you make a mistake, we'll make sure that we leave it in.
That's good. I use a flat wooden spatula. My wife likes a whisk. I've got one over here. The whisk is fast. It breaks up the lumps. I like this because it keeps the flour doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot and burn. So you can move a lot of material around. As far as the look of the roux, it should have a nice oil sheen. If you get too much flour, it starts to look like dough. If that's the case, just add some more oil to it. But it should have a nice sheen to it. And,
I noticed you're using a cast iron pan. If I do that, I'm going to have to borrow one because I won't allow cast iron pans in my house, and there's a very good reason for that. Because if you have a cast iron pan in your house and you've been out duck hunting too long and your wife hits you with it, it causes a great deal of damage.
This is the only way to cook, as far as I'm concerned. If you need one, come over and borrow my son's. You see, you can get lumpy if you just stir it and break it up. One of the old Cajun ladies I knew, the way she would stir it, she would do the cross, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. That's what she would do to get all the flour off the
Then she'd pray that there wouldn't be any lumps, I
yeah,
assume.
that's divine intervention. Smell those peppers. Yeah.
The things that we like all things Cajun.
Yep. Well, you can do this with duck and goose. I'll put, we're doing, what do we got here? 4 duck breasts and a woody.
Yes.
Generally a couple of mallards, or a mallard and a duck breast, or goose breast, I mean. Get a good pound and a half of meat out of a good goose breast. Got it going, Paul? You can see the heat's not very high, but you got a nice boil going.
You can see the bubbles just very nice and not too aggressive.
Yeah. If you try too hard, it'll burn. So you have to be careful. And as I was telling Paul, a lot of the gumbos I make now use olive oil because it's a little bit better for you. But then you have to really keep an eye on your roux, or it'll burn on you.
Now we're getting a nice little present from your area today. A nice little storm blowing up the coast. And
yeah, Raleigh's getting hit.
yes, I was talking to our on-site navigation advisor on the way up, and he indicated that the storm was coming up our way.
Yeah.
He asked me where I wanted to go, and I said I want to go someplace where there's no snow. But he couldn't accommodate me. I could drive halfway down the East Coast to make that happen. We've got some venison sausage that we've been able to put into the mix today.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Now with your gumbos, there's always ham or sausage added. And the Cajuns will use tasso ham. Have you hered the term?
No, I've never heard that.
It's a smoked ham, front shoulder, that's got cayenne spices in it and a lot of salt. And
So it's practically health food.
yeah, a lot of salt, just like pork fat. But you'll find sausage and or ham in both the seafood gumbos and the meat gumbos. And really the only beef, you don't normally find beef in a gumbo unless it's part of the sausage. And you don't see ham as a main ingredient. It's usually just to add it for flavor. Mike, you had
We've got the color. The color's coming up nice now. You can see it.
Yeah, it'll get dark. But that's, like I said, you got to keep it moving, or it'll start to burn on you. But if you do this, as long as it's moving, it'll just get darker and darker and darker, and then it'll look like chocolate when I stop.
So it's a little bit longer than the 15 minutes called for in the recipe.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't want to rush it. If you rush it, you're going to burn it. Or you end up stopping it now. You could stop it now, but it's going to. It's what?
You have a gas stove that can go fast.
Yeah. Well, you can do it faster. But,
electric stoves will burn it.
yeah, this is the first time in this pot, first time on this stove, so I don't want to gamble in it.
Yeah.
You look good in that hat, Jim, by the way.
I might just keep it, so nobody else has to wear the damn thing.
I want to make sure that nobody that comes in and works with us has any self-respect left by the time they leave.
Humility is a good thing. At least nobody will recognize me.
You get about another 5 or 10 minutes that are gone by, and you can start to see the color coming in.
Yeah.
See, turning from a blonde to a darker color.
Yeah, chocolate. The two terms you'll hear are blonde roux and chocolate roux. Chocolate roux are the darker, like this. The blonde roux you can make up in 15-20 minutes. You can turn the heat up and go until you've got a light toasting on the flour, and then stop it. And you can use that for, like I said, a number of other Cajun dishes.
The thing that impresses me about this is it's staying smooth.
Yeah.
I assume that's assume that keep it moving.
Yeah. Because if you wait a couple of minutes and you can see it's cooking down on the bottom when it's where it's hitting the metal. You can really tell it when it's light, and you do that, you can see the brown. You can see where it's toasting.
This is where it's really necessary to have the equipment to do the job. This is a cast iron pan will keep it the heat nice and even.
Yeah, if you're in a stainless steel pan, copper bottom pan, it'll go fast. You've got to turn the heat down. And like I said, this is hot oil, so it's the Cajun napalm. So when you quench it, you got to stop it from cooking. What I use is the raw onion.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll use here just in a second.
So the Cajun napalm is the term we're going to use for quenching the roux once it's done.
You just don't want to get this on you. Like I said, the little kids in the kitchen, when it's time to do this, they're like scatter. They don't want to be around it. If they ever get burned, they know.
You're ready.
Okay. All right, our roux is looking really good, looking like chocolate. We're going to quench it with raw onion, and we're going to add our broth. Don't let that get on you, Paul. You can hear it. A little bit.
You can hear it.
You want it? That'll slow it down. If you can just take that measuring cup. There's a clean one in here, and put in some of the broth. And then we'll get the rest of it in here. There you go. Oh yeah.
That's why they call it quenching.
Yeah. Go ahead. There you go.
Remember, that's hot oil. That can be dangerous.
Cajun napalm.
See when.
All right. Go ahead. Hang on right there. We'll put the veggies in.
Okay.
Here. So we got our sauteed veggies and butter. That goes in. This is completes the mirepoix, the Holy Trinity, that you'll read about in all your Cajun dishes. There we go.
you get too much spices, you get the holy cow.
Yeah. All right, so red pepper flakes, which is not on the menu, but I like to add.
I understand you have to improvise when you're doing
Well,
Cajun
ev-
cooking. You're not
ev-
allowed not to improvise.
Every cook's got their own recipe. Closely guarded family secrets generally. This is that's the filet, but that was the Creole seasoning. Mike had this in the cabinet.
Oh, yeah.
Creole seasoning, just a mixture of peppers and spices. It's good. And again, you don't want to do too much cayenne with the kids and stuff, so you have to add some, but you can always top it off with Tabasco. So that's not too much. Kimmy? And Paul, you made this up? You want-
Yes, that's quarter teaspoon of cayenne, quarter teaspoon of black pepper, a bay leaf, teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of dried thyme, and a teaspoon of sweet basil.
C'est bon. And garlic. Put that in. Never have too much garlic. Okay.
Filming for us today on the Game Gourmet is my son Dan, come all the way from Texas for this gumbo.
Okay, so we're gonna bring this to a boil and then simmer it. And you wanna bring the guest of honor and put them in the jacuzzi?
These are ducks. There are 5 ducks going into this gumbo. We want to make sure we have enough duck meat in there.
Absolutely.
These were cooked earlier this morning. Well, you'll notice that
That's good.
there are orange slices here. I use those to keep the duck breast moist while we're cooking them. Don't want to let any of that liquid gold go.
Yeah, let's hang on to that. Make sure Jane's not around. Oh, yeah. Where's that?
How about I give you a smaller one, Jim?
I'm good, I'm good.
Good.
Whew, caliente. All right, working. And you can see it's just about full. We can probably top it off a little bit with a little more broth and then bring it to a boil and give it a couple hours. But that's looking good to me. Hey,
Perfect,
right on,
perfect, that's
right
plenty.
on. Okay, so bring it to a simmer, cover it up, the top's down here.
So all the heavy lifting is done for this.
That's right. As soon as that comes to a boil, we're good to go. If we wanted to, we could split it now, off, take it home, and then just reheat it. The main thing now is to cook the duck meat, get it tender, pull that back out, and cut it up or cube it up into bite-sized pieces. And then that one woody, gotta debone that, take the bones out.
A little bit.
But they have to put a lot of fat into venison sausage
Really?
because it's so dry.
The
It's
stove, because I'm trying to get a feel for that.
really not good for you.
If it goes like that for 2 hours, that duck will fall off the bone. But tender.
You can see it bouncing around in there already.
I'll take the hat off.
Yeah, you can take the head off now. Okay, so we've got the gumbo's been in for about an hour. We need another good hour before it's done. But what we're going to do is we're going to separate it here. Jim has helped us out, and we appreciate you appearing with us today on the Game Gourmet. And
pleasure.
we'll send you a DVD of this when it's done, so you can have a record of the event, and you can show all your friends what you look like on Carver Cable TV. But we certainly appreciate the help. Here we are in Easton, Massachusetts, for my favorite part of the show, the Game Glutton. Joining me in the Game Glutton today is my dad, Gene Johnson. What we call the Game Geezer. Favorite part of the show, I'd like to thank today's guest chef, Jim Aswell, for coming up and helping us learn how to make this Cajun classic duck gumbo with venison sausage and wild duck. So join us as we enjoy the fruits of our hunt, and as always, good eating here on the Game Gourmet, and thank you for joining us today.
And it is very good, very good.
Yeah.
This is delicious.
It really is good.
Who's making that road?
Yeah, quite a process. I must take an hour and a half at least.
Oh, yeah.
What's that, the broth?
Yeah. It's a roux.
Oil. A cup of oil, a cup of flour. Look at the terms, and almost chocolate.
It isn't, oh, it's actual now.
And again, from the Game Gourmet to the Gumbo Gourmet, remember, when the gunning stops, the Game Gourmet starts, right here at CATV.